Hey, just trying to do a really quick stream this morning, and I'll come back this evening and do something more in-depth. Just a couple vids I want to show you. Got a Tucker Carlson AI rap video. When I watched this originally a couple days ago, it had something like 2,000 views, so it's nice to see that this has, well, I guess it's only been up for one day. I watched it originally when it came out, but yeah, now it's got 45,000 views, and let's play it.
Kick the fathers out the house, send the mothers back to work. Let the school system parent your children right from the birth. Make them ill, feed them pills, confuse them about what's real. Tell them facts don't really matter, it's all about how you feel. Science and math erases, history let's erase it. Indoctrinate a whole generation, you can't escape it. It's bigger than American politics, you're an accomplice. White people racist and bigots and you're a colonist. If you want freedom, well encourage to do the opposite. Toxic masculinity, if a man is too confident. What is a woman? Well, I am not a biologist. Common sense is really not common when you're a communist. Parents that care about their kids is calling terrorists. It's cool to be a feminist and an environmentalist. If you love the country, that makes you a white supremacist. Don't even try defending it. What you say is irrelevant. Put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh. 2 + 2 = 5. You a racist if you don't think that adds up. Go and put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh. 2 + 2 = 5. You're a racist if you don't think that adds up. Don't have children. If you do, then abort them. If your neighbors don't comply with the government, just report them. If you have independent thoughts, just ignore them. Communism's the way democracy is too boring. Bringing kids to a drag show. Give them a couple dollars to put right up in there. Don't worry about the Epstein flight logs. The case is closed, so don't even go and ask, bro. Trust the WHO and CDC. None of our politicians work for the CCP. White kids are born racist if you disagree. That makes you a damn racist. Study CRT. In today's lesson, make and get pregnant. Put your hands down, no more questions. Don't say pedophile, call them ALA. Adults that like adolescents. Go and put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh. 2 + 2 = 5. You a racist if you don't think that adds up. Go and put your hands up, everybody stand up. The whole world's going mad, bruh. 2 + 2 = 5. You're a racist if you don't think that adds up.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. So, guys, I really had a change of heart. I was really wrong over the last few years. Why Joe Biden is the greatest president of all time. I made this book, and I want to try to convince you guys too. So, as you can see on page 1,
He's ripping off Greenfield's lines here.
this is for sure, in my opinion, I start off with some of the most convincing arguments about why he's the best. But if you go to, let's see, page 2, it's really hard to decide between page 2 and 3, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of pages of why I think Joe Biden is the greatest president of all time. So if you want to convince your friends the same thing, make sure you head over to PresidentBidenBook.com and grab yourself one before they're gone. I appreciate y'all.
Let's go to PresidentBidenBook.com. Boom, you can actually order the book. Wow. It's only $9. Huh? There you go. What else we have? We have. Oh yeah. Remember this story? I read this for some reason. It came up and I was like, is this recent? And then, it's from 2010, but Al Gore's sex assault claim, U.S. police reopen massage therapist case. So why wasn't Al Gore prosecuted? How many rape allegations did Al Gore have? It's funny because you always hear about Bill Clinton, right? How often do you hear about Al Gore? You don't remember that, do you? It's not really brought up very much. And especially considering the fact that he's leading this climate change initiative you would think that they would bring up the fact that he was engaging, in, I would say, well beyond questionable behavior. I mean, he was accused of rape a couple times, and then he was, engaging in prostitution, escort related services here. So it's all detailed there. Of course, it's reported in The Guardian, not any US mainstream publications. What a surprise. And The Guardian, is a fairly liberal, WEF funded organization as well. All right. So we have the Iranian Revolutionary Guards challenging U.S. naval presence in the region. Everything going on there. So the Houthi rebel stuff. They're being backed by Iran. Tense situation. I know that the Navy had warned those rebels. There was a sea-based drone launch. I forgot to bring up here. Boom, you can read the headline. So yeah, World War III on the horizon. Not to mention the fact that Israel and the US was blamed for taking out over, 95. I think at this point it's over 100 Revolutionary Guard members that were all sort of concentrated at one time at this particular funeral. Again, it's the sparks of World War III here. France 24. Zoom out a little bit on this headline. Iran blames Israel, US for deadly blast near grave of Guards General Soleimani. We have the Jenna Griswold, Sheena Bellows drama. And it is drama. It's like these women want to turn this situation to get as much public attention as they possibly can. The more you think about it, and the more time that you have to concentrate exactly on why these two secretaries of state are doing this in their respective states, you can clearly sense that they know that the Supreme Court will smack them down, and they don't care. They just want the attention. So yeah, the mainstream media is acting like it's all sort of up in the air, and I guess technically it is, but there's about a 99% chance, and this is all hinging on the 14th Amendment, Section 3, and the Insurrection Clause. But again, it is contravened by Section 5, as well as many other issues in the 14th Amendment, which we've already been over. I mean, Section 5 confers the power to Congress and not states. Moreover, the 14th Amendment does not cover the presidency. And I mean, even though it doesn't matter, there's many law professors going on MSNBC and CNN talking about the fact that Trump doesn't have to be convicted. Again, even if Trump was convicted of something in line with treason or an insurrection, it wouldn't matter, There's no provision in the 14th Amendment originally that states that anyone needs to be convicted in order to be barred from a ballot. We could go look at that, but I don't really want to. I saw Lawrence Tribe on that idiot Chris Hayes show going on and on about, oh, well, you a textualist versus an originalist and yada yada yada. I mean, like, you could have a 6th grade, a 7th grade, an 8th grade student. In fact, you could probably have someone, a smart 4th grader look at this stuff and be like, hey, and just have them think about it without any outside influence, and they would come to the same conclusion. I mean, it is outrageous that these idiots, and these are Harvard law professors. No wonder, that they're bringing in people like Claudine Gay, who are allowing pro-Hamas protesters on campus to harass students and call for just horrible, horrible things against Jewish students. And yeah, well, speaking of that, actually, so I was thinking of Bill Ackman, and Bill Ackman made a big deal out of the Claudine Gay situation, and it seemed to be timed perfectly for when the Epstein list was going to get released. Now, I haven't confirmed or really denied. I haven't really looked through anything in the Epstein stuff, because it is actually a huge distraction from everything else going on, because a lot of this stuff has already been known. And, frankly, I don't think many people are actually interested in it. I think they're interested to the extent of knowing potentially who's involved from a high level, if it's Bill Gates or stuff like that. But beyond that, they don't want to read through these docs. I don't want to read through these docs. It's stuff that I don't want to even think about. So there's that. I just wish that we had, and the thing is, so ChatGPT will not analyze the Epstein docs. You try and pull that PDF, all of them in, when it's consolidated into one PDF, so you don't overload ChatGPT, to try and get a list of any name listed in all of the docs, and then be able to kind of like sort from there, and it won't do it. So I think that tells you all you need to know about ChatGPT. But hopefully there's some competing platforms. I know Grok is getting better. It's not quite there. I've used it, but it is getting better. And hopefully there are some, like Anthropologic or whatever it's called, Anthropic. Bard isn't there. It's kind of interesting that ChatGPT is so far ahead of any competitors at this point. But anyways, that's a side argument. Okay, so Trump is not going to be barred from the ballot. The Supreme Court is going to smack down Bellows. They're going to smack down Jenna Griswold. And again, they're not going to care because they're getting a ton of publicity out of it. I think at this point, especially with these millennial women, if they complain that they're somehow getting harassed from the public for making these decisions, then that they originally made the decision in order to get public attention and publicity. Why otherwise would they, of course they're going to, receive criticism from the public, duh. It's just stupid people. All right. We got some Mycelis disinformation coming out about Melania Trump. Total hatchet job here. We could listen to this, but I don't really want to. We'll probably play this later tonight. This is from 3 days ago, by the way. I never played it on stream, although I had it kind of in my cache material here. Got that. Got the C-drone stuff. So again, I will be back later today at some point once I'm a little more prepared and researched. I also think that Elon Musk is going to be going on InfoWars either today or next week, early next week. It was originally projected to be today, Saturday, because Alex Jones then has a few hours without commercial breaks and without dealing with some of the contractual obligations he has to deal with radio by playing specific ads and having breaks every 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll look for that. We'll see what Elon Musk says. I know that Elon's been pretty big on two main issues: DEI and the illegal immigration flowing from the southern border. And DEI, if anything, I am extraordinarily happy that Elon Musk is picking up the baton with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it is such a drag on society. And we have this natural selection process in society that needs to exist to ensure that people find the right roles, based on, basically an unlimited number of factors. Your personality, your physical appearance, your intelligence, what you want to do, and a lot of things. And I think, if anything, the DEI argument crystallizes best when you think about, intelligence is one thing, right? Like, you can't put someone who is totally incompetent. I hate to use this term, but, they used to use this term prior to 15 years ago. And there was another, so this is, I'm getting sidetracked here, but so Ukraine is putting individuals who are mentally disabled on the battlefield. And when I say mentally disabled, people with Down syndrome. And to me, that's evil. And I think that Ian Miles Chong put out a tweet, and he showed a little TikTok or a video of these Ukrainian soldiers taunting this Down syndrome Ukrainian soldier that they put on the front lines. And, there's a reason that, we protect the vulnerable in society, right? There's a reason we do that, because they can't protect themselves and they have a distorted view of reality because, they don't have the intellectual capacity to completely understand what's going on. So as that plays into DEI, there's a reason that we don't put those people in certain positions. And there's a reason that, like, physically, I couldn't play in the NBA because I'm not 6'5", a woman who's 5'4" from China who has no athletic skill cannot play in the NBA. And I think that's the argument, and that was presented to Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, because he was promoting DEI, so it's like, okay, well, if you're promoting DEI, I think it's unfair, and I think lawsuits should be filed against the NBA and the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban, because you're denying an opportunity to women who are under, a certain height, and maybe they're from China, or maybe they're black women or Latino women, and or maybe they're, whatever, they're Asian women. You don't see many Asians in the NBA. I mean, you see a few now, but these are elite athletes. So yeah, the DEI thing is insane, and it's gotten totally out of control. And the immigration situation, although, so apparently they've suggested there's a cap of 85,000 H-1Bs per year. It seems like I have personally worked with thousands of those H-1Bs, and I'm not exaggerating by any extent either. So when I heard that there was 85,000 max H-1Bs, I mean, that does not seem legitimate, because there's far more than that, actually. And the H-1Bs are supposed to go, these are visas for skilled immigrants coming in, and it's totally abused. The system is abused by big tech to procure people from India, mostly India, who want to come into the United States and work here. And the degrees that they have are supposed to be all technical, generally computer science or electrical engineering, something of that nature. And what I have actually seen is that's not true at all. Occasionally, you know, they fudge their credentials. You never know if their credentials are accurate. I've caught many myself cheating on certifications. And the communication ability, because they're not born in this country and they're not Americans, is often very challenging. Although they speak verbally typically pretty good English, but it's still at such a fast rate because it's built sort of on the cadence of the Indian and, you know, whatever, because there's like 30 languages in India. It's probably even more than 30, but, you know, I'm like, Hindi probably is the most spoken language in India. Forgive me if I'm wrong. The cadence of Hindi is just like boom, boom, boom. It's very, very quick, and they speak English at the same speed. And because they're not native English speakers, the articulation of their English is not as clear. And so I often have to, and you know, everybody knows this, you have to really listen closely to understand exactly what they're saying. So the H-1B problem, and I think Elon Musk is advocating for this because, you know, and the thing is, he claims he's an immigrant, but the thing is, like, Elon Musk, yeah, but, you know, I think he's taken advantage of some of the immigration stuff that he was given. But the truth is that, you know, like I mentioned, Elon Musk's paternal grandparents were from the United States. They settled in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. And his father, and again, I could be wrong about this, left Minnesota after just a little bit of persecution. Apparently, he was a medical doctor in the 1800s, I think, or early 1900s, and then traveled ultimately through a roundabout way to South Africa. So he's a mix, and I believe, and I could be wrong about this, that that his paternal grandfather is German. And there's, you know, Minnesota's primarily comprised of German and Scandinavian immigrants until recently, when they brought in a lot of Hmongs and Somalians and God knows who else. So that makes sense if his paternal grandfather was a German immigrant. And he got persecuted for things he said, apparently. And he was like, fuck this. I'm going, you know, I'm leaving. And I think a lot of Americans kind of feel that way. And I think that's also why he, you know, Elon Musk is somewhat receptive to free speech. You know, getting back to the original idea for this country, you know, the founding fathers built this country on like a few principles, a few ideas. And, you know, all of this is coming under attack. And what is it coming under attack from? The military-industrial complex. Right here. Assholes like this. Right? We think because they're part of this military bureaucracy, because it really is a bureaucracy. It's, you know, how often do these guys actually go out and fight in combat? You know, very rarely, right? It's assholes like, oh, you know, and they get promotions if they've done so at some point in their career, right? Vice Admiral Brad Cooper, who leads the 5th Fleet based in Bahrain. And he gave this conference in Dubai. So, yeah, they think they can control everything, that they have these secret black budgets, and they've blackmailed. Talk about blackmail. The military-industrial complex is the biggest blackmailer of politicians that this country has ever known. And it's a large reason, too, you know, and I realize that we have this globalist culture that's fed the military-industrial complex and made them believe effectively that they think that they're gods. And use the United States as sort of this global police force. And it's kind of coming to an end. I mean, that's what it feels like. but then they've internalized it to kind of stave off the budget crisis that they're ultimately going to face because their economy is going down the tank, you know, because they want to continue to churn as much, make as much money as they possibly can, you know, off this whole scheme. Anyways, I'm getting I'm getting sidetracked here, getting off into the weeds. I'd like to stream in the morning when I'm fresh, but I'll probably be back this afternoon and or evening. So let me just check to see if anything's breaking right now and check any comments on Rumble. Oh my God, it's January 6th. That's right. We should just have a brief discussion about January 6th right now. So January 6th, and this is a good segue from the military-industrial complex. Of course, you got Robert Reich, a buffoon, talking about January 6th. So Biden is going to give another false narrative injected into whatever speech he's going to give today, probably in Pennsylvania or wherever he is. I know that he was at Valley Forge yesterday, talking about how democracy is on the ballot. That's exactly right. Democracy is on the ballot, and it's exactly why you need to vote against Joe Biden. January 6th was an inside job. Everybody knew that. I knew that pretty much from the moment it happened. I kind of knew it before, actually, when I saw a bunch of those Stop the Steal hashtags online, and I could just sense, I was just kind of like putting it all together. You know, the Guard was undermined that day, the DC National Guard. We all know that Nancy Pelosi was part of this, that she denied additional Guard members to protect the Capitol, to protect the building itself on that day. And for Joe Biden to mock Donald Trump when Donald Trump used a soundtrack of January 6th defendants singing the Star-Spangled Banner, synced together when they were in jail, like audio calls and all meshed, wired up. It's anti-Christian. It's anti-American for Joe Biden to make these statements. If you're Christian, you know, in the Bible, Jesus clearly says to visit prisoners, to, you know, do whatever you can and to help many of these people, because that is helping Jesus, you know. And there's a speech that Jesus gives that says, you know, when you're doing that, you're doing that for me. Meaning, Jesus was falsely accused, wrongfully imprisoned, and executed for what we would characterize today as free speech, right? He went to the temple. He spoke out against the authorities, which was the government in those days. And for that, the authorities rounded him up, trumped up these charges, no pun intended, carried out a public execution, but first put Jesus in prison for a couple days, I think, 1 or 2 days. A lot of the January 6th defendants were protesting, legitimately protesting, and they walked through the Capitol. As a consequence for legitimate protest, they have been tortured, their families have been destroyed, They have been bankrupted. They've been mocked in the national media. That's another reason why so many people have lost faith in the media. And, you know, everything else that's come out from this, you know, like they're blaming the protesters for some of these cops, unfortunately, dying from strokes or heart attacks. I think 2 or 3 cops, Brian, I'm forgetting his last name, Sickney or whatever, who tragically passed away from a stroke following that. And they blame that on the protests, and they claim that he was murdered. I mean, he had a stroke a day or 2 days after. A couple of the other guys had heart attacks a day after. So it's just, and again, this all stems from the fact that the federal government deliberately engineered the entire scheme of J6, and they could have easily ordered additional troops to come in, augmented by surrounding states, National Guards, or any guard in the country, to protect the Capitol, and really just to protect the people from, you know, any consequences that they might have because we have these corrupt politicians, right? Now, I know that the Army has disciplined a number of military officers who have come out to try and expose this narrative, and this is all just coming out recently. Of course, it always takes 6 months to a year generally for some of this stuff to start leaking out. And yeah, I mean, thank God that some of it's been released, but we need more of it released. I guess the real question is, why weren't any of the military officers who were present that day order and make calls for additional troops? Especially, you know, in the Capitol. You know, why weren't the entryways reinforced? You know, and this goes back to everything that I've experienced over the last 10 years, which is that I've been accused of every single crime in the book, A through Z, for First Amendment exercise on the internet. And no one has been more persecuted for First Amendment exercise than me, except for maybe Julian Assange or someone like that. I mean, I'm just talking about regular, non-made, you know, maybe Julian Assange. I mean, maybe you could probably come up with a few other cases, but I mean, like, I'm not even a detail because I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I actually hate making a big deal out of it. I don't want to bring any attention to it either, and so that's another reason why I rarely talk about it. But, and you know, it's all public because I've filed lawsuits. I've pretty much detailed everything, and the gag orders and all the falsification and fabrication of all kinds of shit against me that I've been able to expose. It's been so outrageous and so wild, and it, for someone like me, I won't say that it negatively impacts me, but I think it negatively impacts anyone. I don't want to act like a victim by any means. Although I have been victimized to some extent. I'm not going to lessen that. But I can understand, I think, what some of these January 6th defendants are experiencing mentally, physically, and everything else. Because, you know, and I haven't even done anything even close to showing up to a building or anything like that. I'm just talking about pure First Amendment exercise. speaking my mind. You know, in 2017, for example, sorry, 2000, yeah, was it 20? I forget the years now, 2016 or 2017. Anyways, it just shows you, and finally people are seeing it. I think they're seeing it vicariously through a lot of these defendants who have been just traumatized by showing up to all this stuff. And the other thing is, I think Elon Musk, I want to show this tweet and then I'll close it down. I always say I'm going to do a really short stream and then I start talking. This is really powerful. This reply by Elon Musk. I'm finding it right now. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is a tweet by End Wokeness. The president of Argentina, Milei, now follows End Wokeness. The tweet reads, 3 years ago, a masked person planted pipe bombs at the DNC and RNC. The FBI knows his license plate number. Despite the fact that the feds located and arrested non-violent, is that spelled wrong? Yeah, it is, trespassers with geolocation and cell data, they still have not located this person. Now there's a picture here. It's a side-by-side picture of two surveillance video, CCTV, blurry, cloudy images of this person. Appears to be 5'9", 5'10", maybe, wearing a mask and a hood, sweatshirt, jeans, tennis shoes, gloves. There's one on kind of like this cobblestone sort of brick pavement, and then the other image is just a regular sidewalk, kind of a stepped sidewalk, it looks like. I don't know if that's snow on the ground or leaves. I guess it's kind of snow because it was January. And in both images, the individual appears to be carrying luggage or a bag, carrying something. On the left, it looks like luggage. On the right, it looks almost like a bag. Anyways, they have the license plate number. They've been able to stalk and unlawfully surveil a lot of this geolocation and cell data to track down people who weren't even in the Capitol building that day. They were just outside the building, right? Anonymous people. They didn't even have those people's license plate numbers. The FBI has this individual's license plate number. And Elon Musk says, seems odd. It does seem odd, doesn't it? So what are they covering up here? You know? This is worse than Ray Epps on many, many, many levels. There's another video too, a very suspicious video related to this, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time finding it. It's probably been memory hold on the internet. But man, I hope that we have some fundamental changes in government, and I think that like any of these requests made by the government to social media platforms to memory hole certain material and stuff, I just hope in the next 5 years that we get a very constitutionally minded executive branch in, as well as enough in the Senate and Congress to pass some transparency laws or legislation to ensure that the public has an opportunity to view what the FBI and what others are trying, like the Department of Homeland Security, what they're trying to cover up in many of these cases. I'm not just talking specifically about this one, because there's many other cases like this where, you know, clearly this guy looks like he's an FBI agent. That would be my hunch. And that this was, or, you know, maybe he's, you know, part of the military, or maybe it was something, maybe he's, you know, a CIA asset. You never know. But that would be my hunch, because it looks like an inside job. And it would add more credence to the fact that it is an inside job when you see some of those transparency reports, if they're trying to memory hole the videos, because, you know, it takes a year or two and then people suddenly get distracted and they forget about it, and then it becomes difficult to find. And I know that we have new platforms now like Rumble, which make it more difficult for the US government to do that, but you know what I mean. All right. I'll be back later. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brock and Agent X. We'll see you next time.